Welcome again, everybody, to another edition of the Mile High Basketball Guys podcast. I am your host, so to speak, Santi, Rico, and joining me, as always, is my broadcast partner and one of the best basketball minds in the Rockies, Mr. Michael Squires. How you doing, Michael?
Oh man, always better after those introductions, man. Always.
Yeah, I'm the Mr. Intro here. So, man, we got quite a bit to cover today.
Yeah, a lot has happened since the last time we've
a lot has happened.
enjoyed each other's presence.
We enjoyed a few L's. We were riding really high on that win streak last time we were out, and we took a couple of L's. But I think the biggest L we took was the injuries that we've been suffering, especially with Jamal Murray, but also with other guards like Will Barton and Monte Morris. So things are looking weird.
We're looking depleted right now, but I mean, we have a lot of people who are stacked to head to toe. I mean, it's shown even in these last couple of weeks. We've only had a couple losses, they were tough ones, but I think our record is not too bad without Jamal Murray. I think I'm going to miss Will Barton a little bit.
You were talking all that mess earlier, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's still, even before he went down, he's hot, he's cold. He's still Captain Streak. He's the streakiest person I've ever seen play, but definitely going to rely on a lot of the younger guys to step up and fill in some big minutes. And we're going to have to count on Aaron Gordon to step up because I have not been impressed these last couple of weeks. It's just, I don't know where he's gone.
He's sort of taking a back seat in these recent games. But, man, this guard drought is actually you can see it two ways. You can see it as a positive or a negative. I see it mostly as a negative, but in a certain way, like you're getting to see Nikola Jokic run the offense more often instead of just letting the guards do their thing and, dribble, drive, run in. You're watching Nikola Jokic really play the whole game. And I'd say that our big double overtime game against the Grizzlies was entirely Nikola Jokic coming up in those final overtime periods. So it's pretty cool to watch Nikola Jokic get more of those touches and run more of the offense, get the weight on his shoulders. He's a big fella.
And see, the sports betting odds have him as a minus 400 favorite to win the MVP this year.
Yeah. Every game he plays, he's getting closer.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's no question. And it's so visible. He's always an assist or two or a rebound or two away from a triple-double. He has like one of the longest active streaks with having, I think it was 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. So he's just really consistent, and he's been the definition of consistency this year. So if the tables were turned and it was actually Jokic that went down, I'd say that we actually have no chance at all going forward. But, I mean, even just having Jokic healthy just goes to show you how big of an MVP he is. I mean, Jamal Murray will be missed. His ACL, hope he gets better. But at the end of the day, I think we could play winning basketball without him. But compile on the Monte Morris and the Will Barton injuries, that definitely is horrible timing. It's never a good time for an injury, but these particularly are the worst because now we had like our last starting lineup had PJ Dozier and Facundo Campazzo in the starting lineup, which, when you told me that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I would have been like, oh no, what happened? What? So,
but it worked out pretty well, didn't it? I mean,
Dozier had 23 points. Yeah, but I mean, it was an interesting past couple weeks. So, I mean, starting with the loss with the Celtics, like, we were playing pretty decent basketball, and then we just really let it get out of hand at the end of the third quarter, moving into the fourth quarter. And I finally made my mind up if I think Malone is a good coach or not, and I am going to say that he is not a good coach.
Oh.
And this is the game that really sold it for me, because he allowed a unit of Monte Morris, PJ Dozier, JaMychal Green, and Paul Millsap go -23 everybody went at negative 23 except for PJ Dozier, who went negative 30, and he continued to go with this group. It didn't do good in the second quarter, and then he tried it again in the third quarter. They tried it. He tried it in the second quarter, early second quarter, and he tried it again at the end of the third, and it was horrendous. And he just let it go. He watched a 12-point lead evaporate, and then they got the lead, and then he was like, "Okay, starters, go in and try to fix this."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's horrible.
I think the score line in the fourth quarter just tells the entire story, and it doesn't make any sense how we were only able to score 8 points in the fourth quarter.
I'll tell you how it makes sense is because the whole momentum got destroyed with that second lineup, and instead of inserting some more starters in, he allows a Tatum and a Brown to just get red hot. He's seen that they were starting to hit baskets. If you're a good coach, you stop it. You stop the bleeding right away. You put your stars back in. You do something to stop that. They didn't come out from I don't even know what point it was. I don't even know if they came out in the second half, but their stars played, and we needed to match minutes. We needed to be a little more responsive when they started to hit their momentum, and we weren't doing any of those things. We just totally watched them dominate us. They went on a 31-3 run, and I don't care what team I have. I'm not letting my team get a 31-3 run get ran on me. I'm just going to sit there and take it. Yeah. That's horrible coaching. And then to follow it up the next game with the Warriors have Jamal Murray tear his ACL when it's a blowout in the fourth quarter with no time left. You got your star players in the game when you have no chance of winning the game. Bad coach. I've done it. I've made my mind up. I do not care. He teetered with me, and I gave him props for certain things. But at the end of the day, his lineup his rotation choices are interesting. I don't know why McGee just never really plays. It's just I don't get it. I'm tired of sticking up for this dude. I really think that he is a horrible coach.
Well, those are some fighting words there, Michael. Let me ask you.
Bring it.
Well, if it was between you and Malone, I think I would put the money on you regardless. But let me ask real quick: who do you think would be a better option for this Nuggets team than Mike Malone?
That's why we're going to have to take it because there is no good answer to that question. And I'm sure there are some candidates out there that would be able to take this team and run with him that doesn't have much experience, but he has this team moving up and win. But I really feel like that's more talent than anything. Like the has gotten the team better. Not the coaching has probably been exactly the same. They were getting better. Our talent is actually getting there, like living up to their potential. And then to have our players at the end of the game like that, it's beyond me. We have no chance at winning. You're already resting him because he has sore knees and other ailments, and then you're going to keep him in the game. And I mean, of course, it's a freak accident. There's no, I wouldn't have had him in. That freak happened. It would have happened on my watch because he wouldn't have been in the game in the last minute in a blowout. We already took the loss. Why take more? And that's a coach's job to think like that.
And it's a big injury too. I mean, a torn ACL is usually months of recovery, like at least 6 months. So
you think about it, it's like some people could take up to close to a year. We could potentially not have one of our star players until end of next year. That's a tough pill to swallow for what? I can see if we were in a close competitive game and he's going driving it in and then he tears his ACL fighting for a victory. What were we fighting for? What were we playing for at that point? And it's just like these little weird, questionable things that he did, just like it just came back and it bit the whole team in the butt. Because now you look at our 3-point percentages ever since the games after, even though we've gotten wins, like we're shooting under 30, in the 30s. Like it's taking a hit. Even though in the game he went down, he went 1 for 5 from 3, 5 of 15. He didn't have a great game, but you want a Jamal Murray when you're in the playoffs. You want a killer instinct like that.
Absolutely.
And to jeopardize it for what? For garbage time minutes, when you have a roster so deep that you could have thrown anybody out there in those minutes, and you want to put in one. I don't know. I don't know how he tried to rationalize it, or if he even tried to. But if he doesn't take 100% blame for his injury, then he has no accountability. Which I've seen that a lot from him.
Yeah, and we have no answer for Steph Curry either. That's a huge thing. Like every time Steph plays against us, he seems to score like 40 at least.
Well, we had him bottled up that second game. Steph Curry erupted in the second half of that second game, but if you look at it, the first half he was we frustrated him. He was not having a very great game at all. And Kelly Oubre's of the world and people of that nature were keeping him in it. And then when it was close, and then he came in, decided to take over, then it was a wrap. That's when it was like you couldn't stop him. He's pulling threes. He's hitting floaters that are just look like straight up teardrops that are going to touch the roof. Like he was on his game. He scored 23 in the second half, and how much did he have? Like 30 something. So
32,
like,
I think.
So he has 32 in that game. He scores 23 in the second half. We did a great job in that first half. So if we could just translated that, if we could just held him to 18, and that momentum, like it was disturbing because there's like people saying like this is why Curry deserves to be MVP over Jokic. Like, get out of here, dude. Like, he has not carried his team the way that Jokic has, and those losses are just like I didn't even really want to talk about them. Honestly, they leave such a bad taste in my mouth because those are very winnable games, and it wasn't even especially that second one. It wasn't even just Curry that beat us. Like, if you look at the numbers on that one, we shot 28% from three, 38% from the field. We were out-rebounded 52-36 in that game.
Wow.
So it wasn't just Curry, because Curry's not going to go out-rebound us like that, right? So we definitely got handled in all phases. And it was like, I don't think we ever led that game. The whole team went negative. Will Barton got injured. Like, I can't think of many positives that came, especially from that second game in particular. There were not many positives, and it was just so frustrating to watch as a fan and as an analyst.
Yeah, it's been a very frustrating time, and you made a good point that we kind of needed Jamal Murray going into the playoffs because basically the only thing that got us past the Utah Jazz was the fact that Jamal and Donovan Mitchell were trading points for the most part, nullifying each other. So without that, if we go deep into the playoffs, there's no way we're not going to run into the Utah Jazz with the way they've been playing. And
the whole model changed for us. So now what we're going to have to do is you're going to have to look back at Dirk Nowitzki's run at a championship. The last go around, like he carried his team as a big man, and everything ran through him. So Jokic, as much as he's already been doing, he's going to have to do more. Those 47-point triple doubles and things of that nature, he's going to have to do a lot more of that. And like almost every game in the playoffs, he's going to have to go win it. It's going to have to be on him. The MVP is going to have an MVP like postseason as well, and the ball's going to have to run through him. I don't care. Like, he needs to have 20, 30 shot attempts a game. Like, he needs to be force fed, and it's going to have to be just like that run with Dirk Nowitzki, and just have him averaging 30, 40 points a game. Just something unreal, man. We're going to need some type of performance like that, and then we're going to need for sure Michael Porter Jr. to be on the type of tear that he's been on, because his scoring, like he's been a little tricky for his game. 5 or no percent. 1-5. You have 2-point shooters like that. It's like we're making and then
good heavens. All right, Michael, is your internet doing all right, brother? Because you're turning into a robot here.
I want to say, yeah.
I don't think it's on my side, but you did it earlier, and your internet's kind of freaking out. I don't know if you can do anything about that. But anyway, we actually have a comment from Ronnie Nelson, who says, "Guess who's back? Ronnie, love your guys' comments. Remember I told you we need trades? We do now, just to get it right. Mike believe we ate there." I don't know what that means necessarily. Malone will get it right, brother. So
I think he says believe we are there. And he's supposed to start.
So yeah. He seems to disagree with you, saying that Mike is a bad coach. And I wouldn't say I take his side, but I think Mike Malone could get us further than where we are now, we have a pretty big gap to cross if we're going to be championship contenders, which I think we could be, regardless of the injuries and regardless of everything, just with the way Nikola Jokic is playing. So, Mike, believe we are there. Okay, that's what that means. We are there. All right. I think you're better now, Michael.
Okay. I didn't change anything.
Yeah, I don't
connection
know.
The whole time.
It's just something, I guess. But yeah, as you were saying, we got Nikola Jokic, who needs to be the main man in this final stretch. I think we have 14 or 15 more games to go, and then into the playoffs. One thing that I think is a big issue for this Nuggets team is a lack of on-the-court leadership. Usually, I remember seeing an interview with Nikola where he said, sometimes it's me that's the leader, sometimes it's Jamal, sometimes it's Paul Millsap. And I think, somebody needs to step into that role, and these injuries and Jokic being the main man for the past few weeks is definitely going to force him into more of that leadership role in the spotlight. And I think, he definitely has the ability. He just needs to learn to speak English a little better, and he'll be able to lead this team to great things if he can really get that Michael Jordan-esque leadership behind him.
If he yelled at his players like he yelled at the refs, then maybe, what I'm saying, that people would look at him as more of a vocal leader. But he doesn't really want to yell at his teammates when they do wrong, but he's going to yell at a ref when he wants a call. So he just needs to divert that energy in a different place. I know he's mentioned before how he doesn't really like to take that vocal leadership standpoint, but you're going to have to. If you know the game of basketball at the level that Jokic knows it, then he needs to be implementing that. Like, this is where you made a mistake. You need to get better. Part of being a leader is making your people around you better. And I think that's going to be on him. What do you think about the Austin Rivers pickup?
I don't know. I've never really been a big fan of Austin Rivers. I thought he was sort of a mediocre guard. He had a couple of good years a few years back, but I've never really seen him as anything but a backup point guard. And in that sense, I suppose he's decent. I still don't like him as much as Facundo.
No, not at all.
But I think, in the guard drought that we have right now, we do need someone like Austin Rivers just to fill the space and be able to move the ball a little better.
I think it's a decent pickup for sure, because the way I look at it, he's a son of a coach. So his IQ, it's got to be through the roof. It's just talent never really matched up to what his brain knows what the game of basketball could be. Yeah. So if you surround him with like this type of team and he has playoff experience, I think it was a pretty decent pickup. It's a 10-day contract. And, what else? What's the worst that could happen? So I think that was a smart move on their part, and we'll see how it plays out. He hasn't really had like a great standout game yet, but I think that playoff experience, we need that in our guard position, especially with the injuries that have been happening.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you, because it's just the drought really that I think we need him. It's not necessarily that he's an excellent player and that he's going to be filling a huge role, but he's tall enough to grab the rebounds, and he's small enough to move around the court in a comfortable fashion. So he's a necessary evil, in my opinion. And we have Ronnie button in here saying he doesn't like the Austin Rivers trade. I'm with you there, Ronnie. It's not the best thing that we could do, but it's kind of a necessary thing.
Or it was just low risk, high reward type situation, especially after losing Jamal Murray.
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about that Memphis game, because I thought that was the highlight in the past 2 weeks. That was one of the most up and down basketball games that I've seen in a while. We forced it into double overtime. So we forced an initial overtime just by catching up, and then another overtime by catching up. And at that point, I thought that we were going to lose because we kept on going down. and you can only crawl yourself back into a game so many times. But
Well,
Nikola
I don't know
Jokic,
about you, but I'm about tired of these close games with these Grizzlies, man. They play us good, and we go down to the
yeah,
wire. I think every game this season's been decided by one possession. So it's like, and every time I see them, we play them tomorrow too. So I'm like, I'm a little nervous, but also
yeah.
excited because it's an exciting game to watch every time we play them, and they play us very well. And John Morant, we're having a problem against guards. These superstar guards are
Oh, definitely.
starting to take effect on us. So,
Well, we don't
uh,
have really any defensive capability on that guard, and the best defender that we have in terms of the small players on the court is Facundo Campazzo, and he's still like too tiny to really affect people once they get up to the rim. So,
in this game in particular, he struggled mightily in his start. 1 of 7 from three, 5 fouls, 3 turnovers. Yeah, I still am a huge fan of Campazzo. This just was not one of his nights for sure. And another person who's been struggling pretty mightily is Michael Green. He's been so up and down. Like, he was so solid for us, and then as soon as we picked up McGee, I guess his minutes got threatened or something, and instead of performing, trending in a more positive direction, he kind of threw up some iffy performances. He had some good performances in and out a few games these past couple weeks, but like, he just looks unconfident. Like, his confidence it's not where it was a couple months ago.
Yeah, definitely. And Michael Green was a big bench scorer for us, and recently he hasn't been as reliable as we needed him to be. So it's rough to watch that. And basically, our entire bench component is sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like, we have a lot of players on our team, but the quality of those players, the scoring at least, is not there, and that's illustrated with the Celtics game, especially, where we just could not do anything against them in that final quarter.
These injuries are forcing us to play with some interesting lineup choices. So we're pulling a lot of people off the bench. So different players are now stepping in at second rotation, and now they're trying to build a chemistry. Or Malone's trying to figure out, who can I put here, who there? Like, it's just a lot of moving parts, and I don't feel like he's really got it all the way there. And we're getting close to the playoffs, and you kind of need to have some things figured out by now. Especially if you've seen most of the talent on your team, you should know who should be a good replacement, who should start over who. You should have contingency plans. Like, if this person went down, this is the next option. This is the option after that. Next man up mentality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is definitely not the time that you want to be experimenting with the lineup so much, because this final stretch is definitely going to play a huge role in our final seeding. And right now, I think we're third or fourth.
We're fourth right now.
Fourth.
There's a lot of questions on where we're going to end up.
Yeah, because if we don't really tighten up and win, 80% of these last few games, we're going to lose that fourth, and we're going to go down to fifth or sixth even. And I would like to see us as a third seed personally, because
anything with home court in the first round would be amazing for us, especially since they're allowing more fans in to actually give us that type of advantage. It would be a shame to watch us have to play on the road to get to a conference or a conference finals.
Yeah,
it would not be ideal for us. We need every little advantage we can get. And our first game with our crowd in there, the energy was different. We just played so much better. So I think our home record has just been like exponentially better since we've started to have fans in. So if we can maintain a home seed at least in the first round, I think it's ideal for us. I think it's almost mandatory for us.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think the home advantage, especially in the Mile High City, is a huge thing that we need, because other teams don't really train at altitude like our team does. So on top of, having our fans there cheering for the team, we're also testing the cardiovascular ability of the opposite team, forcing them to breathe hard. And that home court advantage for the playoffs is going to be mad important, because I believe in the momentum in the playoffs. And if you have a good couple of first games, it's going to be hard for them to bounce back. But we are the team that comes back from down. So
we're the comeback kids for sure.
We definitely have an interesting dynamic about the team where we can come back, But if we're ahead, we just start sleeping, and
I totally agree with
hard
that.
It's hard to watch those games where we go up so high, and then you watch the lead dwindle and dwindle and dwindle until eventually they're the comeback kids. You know, we're the comeback kids, but we are not the king of the hills in any sense.
It's like it's great that you know your team is capable of doing that, but do you always want to be in that position? Probably not.
Yeah.
So we need to learn how to play ahead better, because that Celtics game in particular, like that first half, I felt like we were going to run away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the third quarter, we
We
had
were looking
double-digit
great.
lead
We were
in the
looking
third.
great.
Right? Yeah, it's like I know our bench needs to be able to come in and support the main cast, but when you realize that that's not working, man, you gotta be quick. You gotta be decisive,
Mm-hmm.
and not let people go on runs like that, man. Like, I don't know, that Celtics games, every single one of those losses hurt me on a personal level.
I'm with you there. I'm absolutely with you there, because we were riding really high last time we were out on this podcast, and the first game back we lost, and
first two.
The first two, and then we lost again against the Warriors, and it's really weird because these are all teams that we should be beating. Like even the Trailblazers, like I felt like that should have been a lot less close than it actually was.
It was too close for comfort. We won by 1 point because Powell missed a game winner runner from the baseline. It was like, I don't like when we have to play defense on the last possession, you know.
Definitely.
I like it to be a little more comfortable than that. But we really fought hard in that Trailblazers game, and it was close. We were down 10 in the third. We found a way to fight and claw our way back into it, and came out with a victory. So I was excited about that one. That Trailblazers win was a big one for us.
I agree with you 100%. Trailblazers are by all means not a bad team. They just like there's something missing there. They have our old center in Nurkic, and he's definitely a downgrade from Nikola Jokic.
Right. So you never know what you're going to get with them, though, because I bet you a lot of teams would not want to play them in a 7-game series in the first round. Like they have a lot of talent. They're capable of turning it on. We won by 1 point, and look at Dame Lillard went 9 of 23, 2 of 10 from 3. If he had one of those Steph Curry type games, we lose this game. So, I mean,
Dame had a hard time, and sorry, I was getting a call. We had a big. There's always that big question mark around Carmelo Anthony, because he seems to be a really on and off kind of player for the Trailblazers. So even if he had one of those regular Melo games that he once had in a Nuggets uniform, like we would have been gone. We didn't really. Right.
Nobody
went have a bench component. Our best scorer was Nikola and Michael Porter Jr. as usual.
Right.
So we just didn't have it.
That game, JaMychal Green went for 0 points. So it's like
I didn't see that.
And the game before that, he dropped 12 and 5, and then the next game he dropped 0. So it's like, if we're gonna make a deep playoff run, we're gonna need our role players to play their dang roles. Man, he needs to come off that bench and be more consistent. I know that there's a game he shot 80% from 3, and it was, he was just wetting it. I'm like, when you're shooting like that, we're a different team. We have a different second unit, but when we're not getting that type of production, we're scraping for wins like this. We cannot depend on a Dame Lillard to go 2 for 10 from 3 every time. It won't happen, especially in a 7-game series. It's like, if we play them in the first round, I don't like. Have you seen how they are, how they play us? CJ McCollum always seems to find his stroke against us. Nurkic seems to always put up a 20-rebound game against us. It's just like, I'm glad we pulled this win out. That was a huge, huge, huge win. The Grizzlies win in the overtime too was a big win. Any win we can string together at this point, like for seeding, is going to be monumental. Nikola Jokic still played every game. The man has not gotten any rest. That's one area of concern I have, though, because I think he really needs to rest up a little bit before the load we're going to have to put on him to carry us through the playoffs. I just don't see how somebody, a big man especially, excuse me, is expected to carry that type of load night in and night out.
Yeah, there's a lot more weight on the 7-footer, especially with these injuries, and going into the playoffs, he's going to have to really pull together because I'm hoping that Monty Morris and Will Barton, their hamstring injuries don't last too long. Usually they're pretty easy injuries. They'll heal relatively quickly, especially compared to what Jamal Murray is dealing with in the ACL tear. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to come in the middle of a series or maybe before the playoffs even start. But if they don't, it's really all on Jokic. It's entirely on Jokic to find the open players, to force, not even force, but flow the game.
He needs to dominate.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to absolutely dominate.
He does dominate in a certain aspect. There's not a game that you can point out where he had a really rough time. He's always playing at least good and at best excellent, you know? So you can't knock the guy. He's going to have a lot. And with these injuries, the prospect of us making a deep playoff run seems a little bit misguided. But I still think we can do it, especially as long as Jokic is playing well. And we might actually have to rest him for a few games in this final stretch just so that he can be ready for that heavy playoff run that we're going to have.
And I believe we could still make it back to the conference championship. We just have to have a lot of things go our way and have players step up to different roles that might not have been expected of them before. Like PJ Dozier, I mean, I was talking about inserting him into the starting lineup, and his first start was not bad at all.
No, he had a good game. He really had a good game. Shot well, defended well. I mean, we seem to outplay the Rockets every time we play them. So
man, that would be sweet if we could play them every single game. We just absolutely blow two times, and I think those were important in our schedule because those tough losses that we took, we also needed those little gimmies. If we would have lost either one of those games to the Rockets, we'd be having a totally different conversation about playoffs right now.
And especially in this most recent Rocket game, like you got to give some props to Michael Porter Jr., who scored 39 points. He had a ridiculous game, 8 for 12 from 3-point. I mean, the guy was on fire.
Not only that, he had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 blocks. So he didn't just stop at scoring. My man was all over the court. He was just one of those players that we're going to have to rely on to carry us through through these hard times and carry us through injuries. And we've hyped him up. Other people have hyped him up. And now it's time for him to live up to the expectations. The time is now for Michael Porter Jr. And whenever he has a bad night, we kind of struggle. That's how you can tell you have a big impact on a team or not. If he's going to 1 for 7, he goes 2 for 8. And sometimes we lose some of those games. So
we're going to need him to be as consistent as Jokic is in these final stretches. And honestly, he has been doing well. I mean, he's become one of our top scorers, like top 3 scorers without Murray, definitely up there with Jokic for the scoring. So you got to give props to the young man. He's flourishing. He's blossoming in a certain sense because of all the pressure that he has on top of him and having to do these starts, play 35, 40 minutes every game and come up with results.
And I wouldn't call him an elite defender, but how much he's grown from the beginning of the season till now, it's just you can tell he's taken this craft serious, and it's not just about scoring. He's starting to learn the importance of the whole game of basketball because at the end of the day, of course, it's about putting the ball in the basket, but there's so many different nuances and so much different things that happen in between the games, like battle games inside the games. So like he's starting to figure that aspect out of it. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful to watch. And 39-point eruption, that's a culmination of hard work and different technique and good decision making, shooting 12 from 3. And he didn't really force any. I've seen him shoot a couple of contested ones, but he's going up over smaller guards. He's got that in his arsenal. So it's not a bad shot anymore. So just see the maturation, and if we could see him shoot at these percentages continuously, then he's going to be a problem in this league, and we need him to be, especially in the absence of Jamal Murray.
Yep. He's going to be shouldering that burden along with Jokic for this playoff run. And honestly, I can't imagine someone else I would want shouldering it because I really love Michael Porter Jr. I think he's awesome.
You know what else you love
He's a
is
family
Bol
favorite,
Bol.
you know.
We've seen a couple Bol sightings over
Yeah,
the last
a
couple of
little bit.
weeks.
He's not any good lately,
Yeah,
but
he'll go get a bucket every here and again, you know.
I mean, a bucket, you know,
Literally
like
a bucket.
a bucket. He plays 4 minutes and
But he's
he
got a
gets
fan
two
base,
shots.
man. He gets that layup, people start going crazy.
He's got a fan base because he's just such a lanky guy. He's such a unique looking athlete, you know.
He's got a unique skill set too. It's going to be a little bit before he develops into his full potential. But
Yeah,
I always think it's funny when there's a Bol sighting. I have to make sure that we
it's like the
acknowledge that.
Slender Man coming on the court, man.
Yeah, man.
He's so long and he still dribbles like a guard. So you'll just see him take 2 steps and he's already there. It's crazy,
Yeah, man. He's been finishing a lot at the rim. Well, not a lot, but whenever he gets his point or two, it's usually around the rim now. He's not just pulling up the threes. So he's starting to show people he can do it all out there. Bol's dangerous, guys.
Bobo is nobody to mess around with. I agree wholeheartedly. And we got to talk about Facundo Campazzo as well, because he's going to have to fill in that guard role. And he's, by all means, not a good scorer. He can hit those open threes, and
every here and again he'll splash some for you.
Yeah, but then you have the game like the Grizzlies where he goes 1 for 7, and that's really just a terrible stat line. But I mean, his biggest contribution is those passes because he does get saucy.
The Rockets game, he dropped 13 assists in a career high for him. So I mean, he's seeing the whole court.
Yeah, and that's what we need.
Right?
That's absolutely what we need from him. He's got to find those passes because he's the smallest guy on the court. He's going to be the quickest guy on the court usually, and
he's my biggest question mark for the playoffs. Like, if Campazzo can like just stay up with that defense and passing, then I think we'll be fine. But if he has a rough night and has a lot of turnovers and a lot of fouls, then that it's not going to be very good because then we don't have no defensive guards coming off the bench that much. Like so.
Yeah, I can see other teams game planning directly onto Campazzo and trying to force him to foul, force him into those. Well, he tends to run himself out, I reckon, you know, because he'll run up and down the court nonstop, same pace, and I can see them messing with him, having him playing what's it called, something in the middle, monkey in the middle,
monkey in the middle, yeah.
Just playing that with him because everybody else is almost a foot taller than him, so
right. But he's a little pest. He was doing a good job on Curry for the most part, and then Curry just, you know, you can't contain that animal forever.
Curry decided to just land him.
Yeah, but you could tell he was annoying him, like, because he even complained to the ref, like, "Oh, he's in my landing spot," and he got the call later on, but just to see him frustrated and complaining like that, I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and I was like, Campazzo won't shut down Curry, but I guarantee you he will pester him. Mm-hmm. He will frustrate him and agitate, and he did for a whole half. It's just like even the greats only need a half, and that's the difference.
Yeah, it's crazy. When people turn it on, when the stars turn it on, there's nothing you can do to stop them, really. So,
yeah, seriously.
You know, you do your best, and you try to limit the amount of time that they're actually on, but once they turn it on, like especially like he did in the first game in this past 2 weeks where he scored 52. I mean, or no, was it this game? 53.
I mean, when he dropped 53 in the first game.
What are you supposed to do against that? You can't really stop a man like that.
And he just started off hot too. And Richard Jefferson, which I personally do not care for his commentations, especially for Nuggets games, but he was like, in the first quarter, he was like, Curry's going to drop 50. He sure did. He
certainly did.
He had that feel. Like, he came out and hit like 2 straight. And I was like, oh, you could tell. I was like, all right, it's just going to be one of these type of games where he's got unlimited range and all of that. So I knew it was going to be a rough one once he started hitting, because even when Nikola Jokic is going, he's only periodically hitting from 3, and you can't trade threes for 2. So
Yeah, that's just the law of math, unfortunately. All right. I think we've well and talked about everything that we need to. We got really important games coming up. As you said, we got the Grizzlies coming up, and they seem to always force us to the extremes. So we'll see how that one goes. And going forward, hopefully we can push back up to the 3 seed. I would love for us to not lose another game, but obviously we're dealing with a lot of problems. So we'll see how that goes for the future. Michael, is there anything you wanna say before we close up for today?
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that Michael Malone is not a good coach.
All right, and I'm sure he takes that personally. So
yeah, I'm sure he listens to our podcast every Sunday that we're on, and he's present
every other Sunday, brother. All right. Well, thank you very much, Michael, for joining me. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but hopefully the future looks brighter. And with that, I have been Santi Rico for the Rocky Mountain Sports Report and the Mile High Basketball Guys podcast. I am signing off.